Many people are aware of the 1994 comedy The Little Rascals. And if you've seen that, you've probably seen the disastrous 2014 sequel, The Little Rascals Save the Day. And if you've seen both of these movies religiously, that can only mean one thing, that you're a die-hard Rascals fan, and that you've seen all the Hal Roach comedy short subjects made between 1922 to 1938, and even the MGM films from 1939 to 1944. But even the most loyal Rascals fans may not know about the many attempts to revive the brand, with pilots, cartoons, commercials, and much more. As the obsessed Rascals connoisseur that I am, I thought it would be fun to share these failed attempts and rip-offs of the Little Rascals, or Our Gang as us nerds call it. The Little Rascals animated series. Hanna-Barbera produced this animated Little Rascals series in the early 80s as a part of its programming block with Pac-Man and Richie Rich. Little is known about this series, as many episodes are now lost media, and it's very bizarre. It's not available on streaming, nor is it on DVD or VHS. The episodes that are available are uploaded to YouTube by old VHS recordings from the early 80s, so the likelihood of the rest of these being found is very slim, since nobody cared enough about the series to archive it.
Yes, I know. I love you so. You're beautiful to me. I love you, darling.
It was airing in the early 80s, but based on an undated drawing sold on eBay years ago, it is believed it was in development way back in the 70s. More than half the series is lost, and it's very obscure. When the series was on television, lawsuits came about by none other than Gordon Lee, who played Porky in Our Gang, who attacked the series for copyright, and the Little Rascals animated series hasn't seen the light of day since. Not one TV airing. In the 1950s, when Our Gang was bought by King's World and aired on TV under the name The Little Rascals, advertising campaigns soon began, and I want to go over two commercials that I found very interesting. The first one is a doll commercial for a series of toys, dolls, whatever, that honestly look pretty hideous and horrendous, and it's kind of hilarious. But it's a very simple ad. I doubt anyone got sold on them. I've seen Our Gang dolls on eBay, but I haven't seen these ones specifically, so I assume they're pretty rare. This second ad is the more interesting of the two, and it's actually kind of a reboot. The kids from Our Gang are recasted. You got Darla, Alfalfa, Scotty, Beckett, the works. And it's a commercial for a popsicle, and it's pretty funny. Take a look.
Pops presents The Little Rascals.
Stop eating those pops. We got some. Can't help it. He's fruity. Well, force yourself. A custard.
What's this?
New Jello gelatin pops.
Delicious. I'll take 2 more.
There are the pops. Look.
New Jello Gelatin Pops in orange, cherry, and strawberry.
They're irresistible.
That's actually pretty cool. Tommy Bond, who played Butch, once said that the other attempts to revive the franchise fell flat.
Well, I don't think they'll ever be able to replace the gang. They've tried to make other pilots and other series with different kids. And it just doesn't work out because I think we were of that time.
And that makes perfect sense. It shouldn't be duplicated at all, let alone remaking characters that were so unlike anything filmmaking has ever seen. It's one thing to have a reboot with kids of different names and characters, but it's another to recast Alfalfa with a different actor who doesn't have what it takes to be Carl Schweitzer. That's because Tommy, Carl, William, Mickey, Ernie, and the rest of the gang were so great, they put themselves into their on-screen characters, so they can never be duplicated. Quickly, I want to talk about some of the rip-offs of Our Gang because it really rarely gets talked about. One of which is Baby Burlesques, which is where Shirley Temple got her start. It wasn't an obvious ripoff, but it certainly was one. Shirley Temple actually auditioned for Our Gang, but was turned down by none other than Robert F. McGowan, who's most notable for making Our Gang really what it was. Another ripoff was Hey Fellas, which is just a shameless copycat. They took the main cast of Joe, Mickey, Sammy, and Mary, and got kids that looked just like them to play the character ripoffs. Of course it doesn't work, and the only good thing I can really say about Hey Fellas is that Mickey Daniels, one of the kids from Our Gang, his brother played the copycat of himself in Hey Fellas. I'm sure he was happy to do it, but copyright laws were so light then, I doubt he knew what he was doing. Another ripoff was The Alley Kids, which is probably the best out of the ripoffs I'm mentioning here. It has enough originality and comedy to be different, but it's missing the one key ingredient, and that's the fact that they're kids. In The Alley Kids, the kids seem to be like adults in a kid's body. Kids doing adult things. And Our Gang did that too, but what Our Gang did differently was that it was kids doing adult things, but they're kids, so everything is kidified, and they don't actually know what they're doing. It's all life from a kid's perspective, and that is not what's happening in The Alley Kids.